What's up, YouTube? It's your boy Johnny. Back in here with one more reaction video, ladies and gentlemen. I got a nice little clip from the Breakfast Club for you. Recently, Charlamagne the God said white supremacy is responsible for all of Americans' fallings. And I'm just here to spread a little knowledge and information, if you will. If this is your first time to the channel, get on in here, baby. As I love to say, we are simply spirits encased in human flesh, trying to figure out this thing called life, not nearly as divided or as demonic as the mainstream media tries to make it seem every single day. And what do you know? Breakfast Club just happens to be mainstream media. And I'm not 100% sure how to pronounce bro's name, especially his last name. But I bet if he hoop, he can shoot real good. You know, Stojakovic, Nowinski, all them boys got wet balls. So I'm sure he got a little jumper on him. If you dig what you hear in this video, do me a favor and share far and wide.
I can absolutely blame white supremacy. 100%.
Really?
Yeah.
See, say more, and then I'll respond to that.
I mean, just look at the history of the country. Like, it's just really just that simple for me. The country has never fulfilled its promises of freedom, liberty, and justice for all.
Hey, so before I start reading, I felt that same way as Charlamagne. The definition of ignorance is a lack of knowledge, by the way. They never mentioned the Civil Rights Act of 1875, where they sent troops down to the South to protect not only black people, but white Republicans as well from being lynched and being beaten by the Democratic KKK. We know about the Compromise of 1877, right, where the troops were pulled out of the South, and those 200, because yes, the first 200 black congressmen were all Republicans. They were disenfranchised out of power, and by 1904, no black people were in power anymore in the South. All those 200 people were gone. Boom. Until 1924, black Americans could not attend the Democratic National Convention. But somehow, in 1932, 64% of black Americans start voting Democrat. Now, there's a documentary about the KKK produced by PBS, and it said that the Klan went around lynching black Americans who tried to exercise their right to vote. But if they were allowed to vote for Democrats, who were they lynching them for voting for? Here nor there, just throwing it out there. There's a few books you should read. Color, Communism, and Common Sense by Manning Johnson. Hammer and Hoe is also a very good book. Now, if you fast forward to the 1950s and 60s, when black poverty rate is slowly going down, mind you, the black poverty rate from 1940s, 1960s dropped a whole 20%. And then you get to the 60s and you get that Civil Rights Bill. And you have Lyndon Baines Johnson say, I'm going to have these niggas vote Democrat for the next 200 years. There's actually a movie about Lyndon Baines Johnson titled All the Way, when Martin Luther King refused the Civil Rights Bill, said, this isn't what I asked for, and they said, take it or leave it. There's a reason Martin Luther King said, I've integrated my people into a burning building. But Charlamagne here says, white supremacy is the reason for America's fallings, without going into detail, and they just kind of gloss over the top. Because from 1932 to currently, black Americans have been voting Democrat at least 60% or more. In the 60s, I want to say it hit 90% when LBJ signed the Civil Rights Bill, and I want to say it hit 90% for Barack Obama. So it's a falsehood to say that the entire America has never lived up to its ideals, because black America has only been under the camp of one group since the 1930s. I'll let you decide who that is, but as Frederick Douglass said, knowledge makes a man unfit to be a slave.
It's always been freedom, liberty, and justice for some. And usually that some is white people.
So here's what I would say in response to that. That is obviously true that the nation has fallen short of our promise since our founding. But walk through some obvious facts about America.
Also, I forgot to put Malcolm X, The Ballot or the Bullet 1964 speech in there, where he says, you put them first, they put you last. And if you vote Democrat, you're not only a political chump, you're also a traitor to your race. And I believe a Democratic president sat right in front of Charlamagne and said, if you don't vote for me, you ain't black.
We're not founded on an ethnicity or a monarch or a food or even a religion. We're founded on a set of ideals that brought a group of people together in 1776, and we live by those ideals. At least we aspire to those ideals today. A nation that aspires to ideals that's not made up of gods, but made up of human beings, will always fall short of those ideals. So I think our worst hypocrisies as a country, and we have many of them, Our worst hypocrisies are our best evidence that we have ideals at all. You take a look at other countries. Nobody ever calls the Chinese Communist Party a hypocrite, or China a hypocrite, or Iran a hypocrite. Why is that? Because to be a hypocrite, you at least had to have ideals in the first place.
But a lot of those
And so we're
ideas-
imperfect.
And the thing is, we never call the Democratic Party a hypocrite. We always say, the party switched, the party switched. That is one of the biggest falsehoods ever told to the face of man. And you would think someone as educated as Charlemagne knows that. I mean, bro, you got to the top of the world, and you beat a whole grape case, and you ain't going to look around and see how you got where you are? You got a lot of books behind you. I don't see Up From Slavery by Frederick Douglass. I mean, Booker T. Washington, I'm sorry. I don't see the autobiography of Frederick Douglass. I don't see the autobiography of Malcolm X. I don't see the Miseducation of the Negro by Carter G. Woodson. I don't see the Spook Who Sat by the Door. Like I said, I don't see anything about Manning Johnson behind you. I don't see anything about the black communist movements that was going through the South in the early 1900s. That's a lot of information that's been cherry-picked. And then you have young boys and young girls out here blindly believing the Breakfast Club that has a huge following, even though it was beautiful to read through the comments and see how many people are not falling for the BS no more. We're tired of being divided and manipulated and used. And as Malcolm X said, y'all not bamboozling us no more. And Barack Obama was the hardest thing dropped on black America since crack, because he rocked all of us to sleep. But our eyes are open now, baby. And this woke propaganda to Charlemagne and DJ Envy, and I'm not sure who the young lady on the show was, but, man, time is over. y'all, the jig is up, baby.
But we are about the pursuit of a more perfect union, the pursuit of happiness. America's about the pursuit. And so I think that trashing ourselves, I think we are, actually.
The reason I say that is because, we never were included in those ideals originally.
Originally.
Yeah.
But never and not originally are two different things.
Mm-hmm.
Originally, that's true.
Mm-hmm.
And he says that like Frederick Douglass did had these conversations, like Booker T. Washington and W.E.B. Du Bois had these conversations. Like, at what point do we stop repeating the same thing over and over and over and over? That's the definition of insanity. My man is a millionaire right now saying America doesn't live up to his ideas. It did something for you, Brody. You know what I mean? Like, we was upset about the man who put all the people in jail for the 3 strikes law. And then here comes the First Step Act, letting people out of jail, and they trashed that man's name. So at some point, like I said, I respect everybody. And Malcolm X said, don't judge anybody, because it was a point in time when you was ignorant as well. And I'll say it again, ignorance is a definition of lack of knowledge. But the ignorance that's spread on the Breakfast Club and how big their platform is extremely disheartening. And I hope we start getting some truth in there. I hope we start getting somebody to break the narratives, because until you make the unconscious conscious, you'll repeat it over and over and over, and you'll say, this is my life. Shout out Carl Jung.
Over 250 years of progress, if you had somebody who was in 1870 looking at the world we live in today, if you had somebody in 1960
Jack Johnson,
who was looking at the world
Ida
we
B.
live in
Wells,
today, as
Madam
it relates
C.J.
to race in
Walker.
America, we would be darn close to what they would have thought of as the promised land. So I think we have to recognize that America is about that pursuit.
And if you ask Carter G. Woodson, the masses of black people are still been misled. They still been miseducated, baby. If you ain't read that book, The Miseducation of the Negro, go cop you a copy of it today.
We're a lot further along than we were 250 years ago. And here's the other thing, too. We got to set our expectations. We will always fall short of our ideals. By definition, if there are human beings and not gods living in a nation that aspires to ideals, we are fallen. Man is fallen. That's what makes us who we are. But what also makes us different from animals is that we have ideals. Mm-hmm. So America's founded on our humanity.
That's why they dummy
that
you down.
We can believe and aspire to something
Processed
that we will
food.
still fall short of. That's what makes this country beautiful. And that's why that's why I'm in this. You ask me, why am I in this? I care about reviving pride in that nation, because if we get into the habit of just bashing that country, what are we bashing? We're bashing the last best hope that man has for aspiring to those ideals. Tell me who else has done better. I'll wait.
And something else that's crazy about the masses of our media, right? Like, if you was to ask the average person, does China have propaganda? Yes. Does Russia have propaganda? Yes. Does North Korea have propaganda? Yes. So what about America? Do you really think these news stations are telling us the truth? CNN spent 4 or 5 years talking about Donald Trump every single day. And you and I both know it was a lot of other things going on in the world. There's a lot of things going on in the world right now. And where attention goes, energy flows. So they want to keep your brain focused on these small things that really don't matter. We all have a gift. We all have the ability to rise above our expectations. But when you told your whole life you can't do it just because you black, you can't do it just because you black, you don't even try. You start believing the lies of the world. And as Tupac said, they keep telling me it's the white man I should fear, but it's my own kind doing all the killing around here. And every time I hear a rap song degrading black men, it's by a black artist. Anytime I hear a rap song degrading black women, it's by a black artist. All the black people I know that got shot and killed outside of Fatback, they've been killed by other black people. So at what point do we start looking in the mirror and say, damn, I'm my own threat? My daddy told me if I ever was to lose my life by a bullet, it'd be from a nigga. And every time you turn on TV and you hear somebody talking bad about a black person, who is it? Another black person. That's why grandma and them said all skin folk ain't kinfolk. And we got to pay attention to that. We got to live by the spirit inside of our body. Not the skin, not the external, but the internal. If you align with Christ, then we're on the same side. But they misusing you and they misleading you based off your skin color. They hoping that you don't believe in yourself. They hoping that you got low self-esteem because you're easier to control that way. Drink clean water, take vitamins, stretch, meditate, do yoga, disconnect from the propaganda of this world. They say all a man's problems are because he can't sit in the room alone for 30 minutes by himself. I challenge you to start disconnecting, start meditating. Get in tune with yourself, who you are. Get back aligned with nature because this world wants you sad, with anxiety, with depression, not believing in yourself, low self-esteem, being extremely low vibrational. Let's disconnect from that. Let's create a parallel society of love, of happiness, of joy, where we are not complaining and crying about what happened the last 200 years, but we sitting right here preparing for our children's future in a world full of AI. If you've seen the movie I, Robot that came out in 2004, look where we are right now. If you haven't watched the movie Ready Player One, go check it out. And then check out that headset that Apple just dropped. We got to pay attention to what's really happening in the world and stop being focused on these low vibrational conversations about race and sexuality. Man, let's get over that. I love you all. Thanks for watching the video. Be the change you wish to see in this world. And whatever you love to do, whatever's important to you, give that gift to the world and God will bless you in ways you never imagined. Whether it's singing, dancing, frying chicken, baking cookies, making pies, detailing cars, real estate, whatever it is, you know what your passion is. And Albert Einstein said, imagination is a preview of life's coming attractions. If you can hold it in your mind, you can hold it in your hand. So keep that vision there, make it plain, and don't let anybody discredit you and tell you what you can't do or what you can't have. Because with faith, consistency, and hard work, the sky is the limit. We out here, baby.